What's going on, Internet? I'm Christopher Peterson, one of your hosts, and you are listening to the NerdEXP podcast. Today I'm here with
Guillermo,
Edgar,
and Drew.
If you're coming back, thanks. But if it's your first time, then you're in for a special treat. We're going to review this week's top headlines, discuss what we've been playing and watching, and talk about the X-Men Days of Future Past. The point of all this? To start a conversation and help you level up your nerd IQ. If you want to be part of that conversation, email us at nerdexp@gmail.com. First up, we got the Big Hero 6 trailer. So this is Disney's first animated movie set in the Marvel Universe, but we're taking a Marvel property. This isn't set in the Marvel Cinematic Captain America Thor universe. And I thought it looked good.
Okay. So what's the premise here? I mean, you said it's a Marvel universe, as in like it's set in New York, or what's the deal there? I mean, so what does it mean to be in the Marvel universe?
So when I say Marvel universe, I mean it's created from a Marvel property. Big Hero 6 is a team from Japan. That's their superhero Japanese team, their version of the Avengers and the X-Men. So in that, they have some rotating members. The only one that people might recognize off the top of their head would be Sunfire of Fire X-Men fame. He's kind of like a new version of the Human Torch.
Oh, that's
wears
cool.
a Japanese flag on his chest. So in the trailer, we see Boy Genius trying to create a robot and join the team, presumably, or fight evil. And in this universe, it's set in New San Tokyo Cisco. It's basically like a hybrid of Tokyo and San Francisco, kind of combined into some super mega utopian society. Trailer doesn't reveal a lot. What it did reveal, I thought was funny. The guy has a big, fluffy, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man robot. He's trying to turn him into a cool-looking Voltron Power Ranger robot. And, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And then, at the end, it says, you looked at the UK trailer, it says, February 2015. Everything that Marvel's and Disney's been pushing out has been saying November 7th, 2014. It's basically June right now, and we're just getting our first moving pictures. November seems like a pretty aggressive date for them to hit.
Yeah, but I mean, pictures like this, I would say they're finished by the time you get a poster about them. The only thing that's left to do is probably the voice recordings and casting, of the voice cast, and that's it. I mean, that's usually how animated movies. They have somewhat of a finished product by the time they start casting the voices.
I really like it because it's not a sequel to anything. Like, it's a totally original thing that hasn't come, like, it hasn't been done yet. So it's not a sequel to Toy Story. It's not a car sequel. It's not an incredible sequel. It's something cool.
It's going to be another Disney movie. I didn't really look at it as being a Marvel movie at all. Even from it, you didn't say, from Marvel Studios or from the Marvel Universe. They're not advertising it. They're not playing on it.
Poster didn't have Marvel on it.
The poster is just, it looks to me just like a Disney animated movie. I mean, lately they've been pretty successful at making pretty good stories. So you got to have.
What I did like about the poster was that it looked like a manga cover.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen the poster yet.
Is it still the same one that has like the that I think
the blimp on it,
right? It's
but
the same one.
Like text was kind of vertically arranged on the side, which made it look like a comic/manga.
Okay,
I liked it.
And the trailer I watched, it said from the makers of Frozen and Wreck-It Ralph. Did it say the same in that?
Yeah. It's the same one.
And this is 4 years in a row now. Disney's had their CG animated film released in November. A friend of mine also pointed out how he made a joke that Disney Animation Studios seems to be alternating between princesses and geeks.
Oh, wow, yeah.
They had Tangled, then Wreck-It Ralph, then Frozen, and now Big Hero 6. So.
No, I think that's a very valid.
Loved Wreck-It Ralph, and I'm excited for this.
Like I said, it looks
Oh,
cool.
you're showing us okay.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not the one I'm talking about.
That's not?
That's like early promo.
So Disney Animation Studios at Hollywood Studios, whenever Disney's working on anything animated, they, as you exit the attraction or the big floor section for the animation studio, they usually preview the upcoming movies. And this was taken probably, I got a picture that I took maybe around December was when I took this. So there's that's usually a good place that I just find that you find out, all right, what's Disney working next. So it looks cool. I don't think it looks anything Marvel to me.
Yeah, it definitely looks like they're just using a Marvel property, but it has that Disney.
That's why they bought them.
Yeah, more ideas.
Yeah,
similar to how companies like Google bought Motorola. They could care less about their hard drives, or not hard drives, hardware. It's all the patents that Motorola had.
Yeah.
So I see it similar with Disney to Marvel. It's like, well, we may not use everything, but we're gonna.
Now we got a larger pool of resources.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or sources to where to pull from stories and get creative. It's interesting. At the very
I'll go
least,
see it.
I want to see more because I know there's supposed to be 4 or 5 other heroes, right? Other than
6?
the robot?
Yeah,
So,
6, right?
I mean, 6 total. So I don't know if the boy counts as one of the 6, but so there should be 4 or 5 more. I looked it up, but I don't remember.
Okay. Any girls that we know of on this 6?
There was one girl.
I'm sure there's going to be a girl. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a rotating cast. I don't know who the most current iteration is. So
That's it will be good, and hopefully they can keep to the November release. Maybe the rates are just getting
We're gonna
later.
get barraged with advertisements for it now between now and then.
Yeah, it's
November.
Disney. They'll with the success of Frozen, I'm sure they'll they'll stamp every trailer from the creators of Frozen.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
poor Tangled. It was the better movie, but it just gets completely swept under the rug.
Both of them are comparable, I think. I mean, all the Disney has just I think after they brought Tangled, they just got out of that animated hiatus drought that they had with just okay ideas.
They tried to bring it back, Princess and the Frog,
and it just didn't work. Yeah, so I think CG animation is the way to go for that studio.
Speaking of CG animation, the new Guardians trailer came out, and
Yeah.
we got to see more Rocket Raccoon, more Groot. I was kind of down on the first trailer. I think this one looks a lot better. I think that those CG creatures look fantastic. They sound good. I think that Rocket Raccoon looks more believable in that universe than Zoe Saldana as a Green Gamora.
Yeah.
So Chris Pratt's funny.
Yeah, Zoe Saldana's makeup makes her face look like a man's face. I didn't like it.
I agree. She's we know that Marvel can do very well with makeup and transforming certain characters and certain actresses and actors. It seems with her, they just said, all right, we need, this is going to be I think it's a low budget film as compared to superhero movies. I think out of the Marvel universe, it's a somewhat low budget, but it has a pretty good cast attached to this. Again, they didn't go for the unknowns. They went for the big names, and I mean, as far as action actresses, Zoe Saldana has been on everything now. I'm surprised they haven't announced that she's going to be in Star Wars yet, which could still be possible. She's still
Right. They're looking
she's
for
still
an
rumored.
interracial female, and there you go.
She's still
She might be
rumored.
too old though.
Too old.
For that role in particular.
Maybe.
I particularly like the music that they had on the trailer. Like the music is funny.
Hooked
I
on a
like,
feeling again.
Hooked on a feeling, and then
Spirit in the Sky.
Yeah, Spirit in the
I love
Sky.
that song.
It's funny the choice of music that they've selected for the trailer.
How about the voice of Rocket Raccoon with
Bradley Cooper?
Cooper?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm like, if you just played me that soundbite, I wouldn't know that was Bradley Cooper.
Yeah,
No, it didn't
doesn't
sound like it.
like too bad.
I was listening for it because I'm like, all right, what is he going to sound like? But I guess
I
they
didn't
did
really
very
hear
well.
Vin Diesel and Groot either.
Oh, definitely. He sounds Iron Giant.
Didn't sound like Iron Giant to me.
He definitely do it. And my understanding is that Groot, that's all he says.
Yeah.
I am Groot.
Those 3 words.
It'll be that with different inflections
Okay.
throughout the movie, I'm sure.
That'll be very, very cool, very interesting.
When
I
Iron
really
Man
like the
gets
fact
angry.
that they kept, they revealed a lot more. Now you see a lot more characters. Glenn Close is in this.
Yeah.
Is in this.
She looks like she's out of the Hunger Games in that.
It
the way her hair was done.
seems that was a surprise to me. Again, this is one movie that whatever they release as trailers and previews, I'm not reading much more into it. I'm just trying to be surprised and kind of get encapsulated into that universe when we go see the movie.
I agree with you. Like, the first trailer came out, I was kind of down on it. This trailer, reinvigorated my excitement about it beyond it just being a Marvel movie. I think at this point, like, I would like to go on a media blackout. Like, I don't want to read the headlines of, like, oh, what happens between Chris Pratt's character and some other character? Or, like, discover the secret past of Rocket before you see the movie. Like, I don't want to see anything else for this before I actually sit down in theaters.
Until that's the way I'm keeping. Just anything official. I'm not. If there's a news story that breaks out about it. Usually, I guess some headings nowadays, especially like the main websites for entertainment news, they're pretty careful whenever there's anything spoiler filled, maybe. So it seems to me it's definitely possible. It was possible for me, even with X-Men. X-Men, everything that was supposed to be a surprise was indeed a surprise for me.
As much as they over advertised that movie, they didn't give away a lot, I thought.
And we'll get to it later, but I just don't think there was much to give away.
That too.
I don't think there's any crazy twist, so to speak. Everything was, and I guess we'll get to it, but to me, everything was expected and followed a path.
With Guardians of the Galaxy, I noticed watching it the second time, there's like a quick shot of them on a crowded street. It felt very Star Wars-y, like a little marketplace kind of a thing, or almost like Blade Runner, Total Recall, like the Mars Street.
What's more excited to me is it's exactly, maybe this is what is explaining, the one line that that Star-Lord says in it, that's, I'm from Earth, where a bunch of
outlaws.
Planet full of outlaws. So maybe that sets up, I guess, the buzz in space, like, oh, we gotta go attack that Earth. There's a bunch of outlaws there.
What?
That's what I picked up out of that line.
Yeah, Peter Quill, Star-Lord, ends up causing the reason that Thanos comes to mess up Earth in Avengers 3.
So he's going to be a screw-up.
It's all connected. Hashtag.
I really do think that's how it is. I mean, that's one of the most exciting parts about it is that universe is going to be tied to we just destroy New York City universe and everything else in between. So definitely, it's very cool, very interesting, and I'm excited to see it. Bring on more trailers. I hope that we get more. I guess we'll get some more releases as this gets closer, from Disney, and they'll get more releases on it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Something I'm less excited for now is Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Edgar Wright has dropped. He's a great director, and just kind of any time that his movie has a lot of backstage problems and shenanigans and director switches and writer switches, I'm sure this movie's in more capable hands. I hope it is. It's still early in its production value, but X-Men 3 was plagued with director switches and problems. So
it can go either way for sure. But I thought Edgar Wright coming in, I think I've said this to you guys before, like he had the best portfolio pre-Marvel out of any director that's gone into any Marvel movie. So, and I was super excited. I thought it was going to be the best. And now that he's left.
This news hits me when Darren Aronofsky pulled out of Wolverine. Like, that's the similarity that I find, is that this big idea, this non-comic book friendly director, well, I'm sorry, Edgar Wright did direct
non-Disney friendly.
Yeah, like Scott Pilgrim. But like these like abstract kind of directors coming in, like Darren Aronofsky pulled out of Wolverine, and it's so similar. I guess Edgar Wright was thinking of bigger, like, I don't know. No, I guess no one will know.
Or like Michael Arndt leaving Star Wars, the writer.
Oh, okay.
That was a big shocker.
Well, my thing is, Edgar Wright has been the champion for this movie forever. He did.
That's exactly it. He wrote it.
He did the shorts. He sent this Comic-Con. He did the proof of concept. So, I mean, this has been a passion project for him.
I think somebody was took something away from him.
Well, the fact that you come out, I mean, you make the announcement, you're not attached, and that immediately you feel like not retaliating, but giving you reasoning, it's definitely a creative difference, because, and then it also, by the way, there's some rewrites. never a good thing for any movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Prometheus had that. Men in Black 3 had that.
G.I. Joe, Retaliation had that.
We all know how we felt about that movie.
Yeah, that was terrible. On record.
We'll be on the lookout and we'll see who the new director is.
I don't think that Michael Arndt has spoken out about Star Wars at all. I haven't seen any quotes from him. Just
yeah, but he's not the big name. I mean, Edgar Wright is, you know,
he's an excellent director.
Right,
writer, sorry.
Right, but J.J. Abrams would be, you know, J.J. Abrams says, I'm pissed off at, you know, how much input Lucas is giving me. You know, I'm out. That will be the kind of news. That's how this movie, especially so early on. I mean, some things that movie still has some things going for it. You know, the cast is still there as far as we know. Paul Rudd as, you know, as the main character.
He's probably been working out. He doesn't want to back out.
Yeah, already gave him the trainer. So we got that going for us, and it looks like they're still using the same story. So we'll see. I mean, I think this is what's going to happen with Marvel is, regardless if they can't solve these creative differences, you definitely have a studio, the Marvel, universe, cinematic universe. They already set it in motion. So if you got somebody that's, somewhat has his own ideas of how to get there, they're going to be I think they did the planning already. So whenever somebody's going to come in there and say, well, I want to take it a different route, they're going to be very reluctant to that. And many directors are going to be just turn it down because of that. That, you know, you're getting paid to direct the movie that, you know, they hired you to direct, and not many directors, especially someone like, Alan Wright. Edgar Wright. Especially somebody like him. He's so revolutionary, the way he presents his stuff. It's always something unique. Somebody like that, I think they're going to have problems, especially hiring those kind of directors with experience, and they're going to have some problems where they can't direct. They just got to direct the movie they made.
I haven't directed for Marvel yet. But, from what I hear, they are, like, really difficult to direct for. I mean, they haven't had anybody return except for John Favreau returned for Iron Man 2. But, they made him do a rush job on that, so he didn't come back for anything else. I know Whedon's doing Avengers 2, but, Avengers was this huge, mega colossal success, so it'd be a fool not to. But, I mean, every other sequel that they've done, I mean, they change directors constantly. They're willing to change actors. Like, it is very much like you said. It's our vision. This is our train. This is the path we're taking. We'd love for you to be on board. But if you want to kind of veer it off, then, maybe you should go somewhere else.
You're absolutely right. The first Captain America was Joe Johnson, and then after that was the Russo brothers. I mean, that's a huge change. Thor had different had directors. The first one was Kenneth Branagh, yeah, like the Shakespeare director, and then they handed over. It's similar to like the Harry Potter movies. Like everyone gets a shot to direct different.
Yeah, but in Harry Potter, I don't think you had a single director come out and say we have creative differences with the studio, and that's kind of a similar situation. You had the story set, so you were hired to interpret the story.
Yeah.
And really said, how do you want it to look, but they all had that freedom. I mean, Christopher Columbus wanted a very child-friendly movie because it was a child's movie and a child's story, books 1 and 2, and then. The third book where it starts getting dark, they get a very dark director. So they did it very well, in my opinion. And again, Marvel, we're talking about it. If anything, we're still talking about it. We're they're getting the attention that they wanted to generate. The fact that they let it out and let it out be public, that says to me that they're not worried about it.
This is a nasty divorce.
It is,
nasty. Because, I mean, Edgar, like Chris mentioned, Edgar Wright was, Ant-Man was his baby. No one cares about Ant-Man, but Edgar Wright,
he sold
coming
on
in
it.
Fresh off of Scott Pilgrim, is like, hey guys, look at what we're going to do with this. Every Comic-Con, he showed us footage. He's like, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. Look how badass this is. And now they just took the rug from under him, and they're sticking to that. They're sticking to that date too. Like, it's going to be released in 2015. New directors are puzzle pieces. We just pop it out, just pop another one in. It doesn't, like Marvel.
It'll be interesting to see who they announce.
I agree.
But the new guy, what is the new guy going to do?
Well, the new guys, all
If
he's
he
going
does
to do is
anything,
say
they push the
action
release date
cut.
back.
Action cut. That's what they get paid to do.
They could
Action
put Steven
cut.
Spielberg in there. Well, he's not going to change anything. Like,
I would be okay with that.
Sorry, Jeff
It's like
Goldblum.
the only replacement that makes sense.
Does Paul Rudd, has he done any directing? I know he's been involved with,
No, I don't think so.
no?
Nothing
Writing
jumps
or
out at
something?
me.
I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it maybe to the Guardians director. I'm pretty sure he's
James
pretty much
Gunn?
done.
Gunn, yeah. James Gunn?
Paul Rudd has not done any directing.
No?
He has 2 writing credits
With,
for Party Down and Role Models.
Oh.
yeah, Role Models. So, that's the one I thought he had directed. So, I don't know. Maybe,
That'd be a rough place to start directing,
yeah.
especially taking over for someone else.
It's in motion. I think this is one movie that I don't think it's going to be affected. You just got to put the faith they know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
So, something else that won't have any impact, but kind of a little silly, a little too long, is the official title for the Man of Steel sequel. Warner Brothers decided to go with Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Awful.
I hate it.
What a cop out. I mean, that's great that the working title was Superman versus Batman. So they said, all right, let's be really clever. Let's reverse the order. Completely unexpected. Batman v Superman. So not only is it now, it's a Justice League movie that we all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is. It wasn't the Superman sequel. It's the Justice
I
League
feel
movie.
like nothing's going to happen in this movie. Like
A bunch
nothing.
of-
No one dies. It's a Spider-Man. It's an Amazing Spider-Man 2. I mean, it's going to set up for that as well. Like nothing's going to happen.
Nothing's gonna happen.
No. Maybe 2 people die.
Lex
Like
Luthor.
Cyborg dies or something.
Cyborg. We're gonna bring him in. We're just gonna kill him.
I just feel like we are putting way too many ornaments on this Christmas tree. With, Batman
Did you write that
versus
down?
Superman? No. Like it's just we have this beautiful Christmas tree, and then we're putting way too much ornaments on it, way too many things. It's gonna look gaudy and so long. The title's so long.
Well, all right. So again, one of the things that keeps me going about this movie and not completely disappointed is the fact that I was listening to Kevin Smith's weekly podcast that he does on Hollywood Babylon for this past Friday, which was the day after they released the costume. And early on, that was the first, some of the first news that we heard about the costume was the fact that it was he was one of the first people to see it. Zack Snyder said, "Hey, come here, check this out." Pulled out his phone, and there was a picture of somebody in the costume, and it came out to be that was Ben Affleck wearing the costume. So in the last podcast, Kevin Smith goes out and says, that wasn't the costume they showed me. The costume that they showed me was very Frank Miller's Dark Knight, about halfway, and it's the gray costume with the black logo. So it's a gray costume is the one he saw. He said that could still be the same costume, but the fact that it's monochromatic picture maybe doesn't reveal that it's gray. And there's actually online a couple pictures already going around online that show that it could be very much a one-tone, and it could be a gray costume. Or it could be just like they did. I mean, earlier on that they had plenty of different costume changes, Batman costume changes. So that could be it. So that was exciting to me.
Could be multiple costumes in the movie too.
Right.
Oh, no.
I think Kevin
Multiple
Kevin Smith
costumes.
speculated that too.
Yes, that's another thing he said. I mean, this is
Forever.
Batman.
Batman Forever, the Arctic suits.
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin.
The multiple suits, everybody is speculating that in the Frank Miller that was referenced, Batman puts on a mechanized suit to be able to fight Superman, and that's how they justify him being able to fight him. He's not just in his cloth and his utility belt using kryptonite. So basically, Batman becomes Iron Man. Warner Brothers gets what they wanted all along.
So that was exciting. Again, something as big as this movie was, or it's meant to be. With, I mean, the 2 biggest superheroes, the most recognized superheroes in the world, and the fact that they finally announced the actual title, and it's so low key. I mean that to me, it's just like everything in this movie. It just seems exactly like you're just throwing more stuff out.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how many people are attached to this movie. It's ridiculous. It's way too many. It's way too many chefs in that kitchen,
and they don't have the plans to do the the mini series to collaborate, to help tell the story. They're not releasing the 15-minute. Here's the story so far. All they got to go by is one movie that they consider
decent, like Man of Steel. Like,
that's not even a decent movie to me. That's just a movie that's the only backstory they have, and it was a terrible backstory. So,
something that I want to bring up is that Batman v Superman. Like, it's not VS. It's similar to like a court case. Like,
from what I heard on that, it's because internationally, that's U.S. is the only place that uses VS as the abbreviation for a versus. So I think the V, it's just so they don't have to rename it everywhere.
What was that terrible movie with Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu?
X versus Sever.
Sever?
Like yeah,
Ballistic
Ballistics. Yeah.
Did that use V or VS?
I think it said versus.
What about Aliens versus Predator?
Freddy
versus Jason.
That was AVP.
Oh.
Only a V there.
Yeah.
This is way too long of a title.
Well, that hashtag is going to cut out about 30 characters for you on Twitter, so go a little bit smaller.
Advertisement. It's an advertisement.
So this past week, we'll go through what we've been gaming and watching, kind of leaving out the crap, just giving you guys something that you might want to think about. I got a PlayStation 4 for my birthday.
There you go.
Using PS Plus. Resogun, fantastic game. Might be the best game on that system. It's basically a Galaga game, but instead of being vertical, it turns the world on its side. So you're basically going around like a 360 circle, and enemies coming from all directions, shooting stuff, avoiding ships. One hit, you're dead. Start over. But there's a lot of gameplay out of that.
That's awesome.
I also have a PlayStation 4, and that was one of my favorite games. It's very hard. Like, it's difficult because there's a lot of things at the screen at the same time. So that's also one of my favorite like PlayStation Network games that you get for free as a PS Plus member.
That's awesome.
This episode brought to you by Sony.
I have not been playing anything.
Or watching anything.
Watching, yes. I just finished, off the suggestion of Edgar and Chris, an old canceled Fox series called Traffic Light. And that was decent.
Get out of here.
I mean, it was worth finishing. I finished it.
10 episodes or something like that?
10, no.
12, 13. There's a half word.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, 13, I believe.
Interesting.
And, but what felt weird is, like, it kind of climaxed at episode 12, and then 13 seemed to be not related to the rest of it, so that was kind of weird.
Epilogue episode.
Yeah, it was just... Because I remember...
It's like, here's the pilot for season 2.
Yeah.
Let's just plan it.
And, I've been watching the HBO series John Adams.
How about I guess I remember reading something this week about True Detective and what was there? Jessica Chastain denying it. Rumor denied, or she didn't say denied, not confirmed. It was, I think that was the response. So it could still be her.
She said
I read
no.
the denial before I even read the rumor.
You read into denial?
They denied it real quick.
Both parties denied it, or they just. But I think the way I remember reading is that they denied being approached either way.
Right.
But the fact that maybe this got out, this could be that they could be looking for a chick to take over on this project.
Well,
That'd be kind of.
They already said they wanted strong female leads.
Well, after they were very misogynistic, I'm like, women are good for sleeping with and making babies in the first season.
That's how the fans reacted. I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, I'm not saying I don't have a problem with that. I didn't get that from the show. Is what I mean. I didn't have a problem with the show.
I guess the update for me this week, I was mostly out of town, so I didn't get to do too much. But update is 2048, that game. I finally got to it. I got the 2048 tile. But only to find out, congratulations, you won the game. Do you want to keep going? So it doesn't have an end. You can keep going, piling up more tiles. So I guess that kind of ruined it for me, the fact that you beat it and you can still keep going.
So is there a 4096 title?
I didn't, not one that I got. I was close to getting it, but not one that I got. And then the other thing, I was traveling in Columbus, Ohio, and right next to my hotel there was a Dave & Buster's. So I went to Dave & Buster's. It was on a Wednesday, and it's half off day. So I spent $20 and had a bunch of points. And as soon as I came into the Dave & Buster's, there was a giant standee and like posters and everything. Come play the new Transformers video game. So I did that. You get in and you're in a vehicle. So it's one of those little, you sit down and then you have a gun in front of you.
He plays Mark Wahlberg?
No. You play as two complete different characters. Loosely based, I think, on the movies. But you're playing like an agent and then some teenage kid. So I guess that, loosely based on it. Pretty cool game, pretty cool storyline, pretty cool gameplay. If it wasn't half off game day, I don't think I would have been able to beat it, but I went through it. It was a pretty fun experience to play with. So definitely encourage it if you go to your nearest arcade that they have this. It was a fun game to play. So,
Chris let me borrow Infamous Second Son, which is PlayStation 4's like most like admired game so far. I haven't started it yet.
Sorry.
The box looks fantastic.
On that one. Yesterday I watched the movie GoldenEye.
How's that hold up?
And it holds up actually pretty well.
That movie holds terribly compared to.
I like that movie. One, they don't show MI6 as much. Like MI6 doesn't meddle as many times as it does in these recent movies. It's directed by Martin Campbell, who directed Casino Royale and unfortunately Green Lantern.
Really?
I really like that movie. Yes.
Really?
Oh, wow.
GoldenEye was really nice. Like, I remember it nostalgia-wise from the games and all the levels I remember playing. And
that movie
was
weird for me because I played and completed the game before I ever saw the movie.
Oh, yeah?
So that it felt kind of strange.
Disappointed?
Like I knew everything that was going to happen.
I was disappointed when I watched it as an adult. Yeah, because I watched it, as I guess a young teen, and then I watched it again a couple of years ago, and for me, it just seemed like a boring movie.
I haven't rewatched it. I remember thinking that it was hands down the best Pierce Brosnan, like Bond. I felt like they got worse. They got more ridiculous, more over the top. Asian people becoming Caucasian with diamonds in their face, and ice palaces, and invisible cars, and so
that was Die Another Day. And then after GoldenEye followed up Tomorrow Never Dies.
Which when I watched that movie, that was probably my favorite Pierce Brosnan. But to many, it's considered
boring.
Yeah, that movie was boring.
I don't remember anything.
I remember the whole motorcycle chase scene, and then the whole hot air balloon scene there too. So.
I haven't rewatched any of them since they were new. I mean,
other than the Daniel Craig
I got
movies.
Too late because I think I watched the second, third, and fourth one, and then GoldenEye. But I liked The World Is Not Enough the most. Like, Die Another Day was just trash.
Oh, yeah.
It had a cool sword fight, but that was it. That's all I remember from
The World Is Not Enough is what I was talking about. The second movie. I guess
no,
the second.
The World Is Not Enough is the third one. Tomorrow Never Dies was the second one.
Is the second one with Lucy Liu in it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was talking about. So, yes, that's fine. All right.
Originally titled Tomorrow Never Lies.
Really?
I read that recently.
True Lies.
Apparently it was a typo. Like, somebody accidentally typed dies, and the studio was like, let's do that instead.
That sounds cooler. All right.
So that's all. I mean, we've been watching Game of Thrones, and so far so good. Like Silicon Valley and then Veep. So everything's pretty solid, and then unfortunately it has to end.
All right, if you haven't seen X-Men Days of Future Past, now would be a good time to pause this, run off to the theater, and come back immediately to this recording. If you have seen the movie already, we are going to jump into a full spoiler review analysis of the film. I thought the movie was good. I think as far as like X-Men movies are concerned, it's definitely in the front half of good ones. I would still say that like I preferred First Class and even the Wolverine maybe especially the first 2/3 of the Wolverine, but that's a completely different movie, so we'll go there later. I liked it. I think it felt like the characters were good, the actors were great, but necessarily some of the motivations or science and kind of reasoning why things happen seemed a little crazy and off.
Okay. This movie, liked it a lot. I think for me, that's the best X-Men movie that has been made. To me, it's a simple movie, but they did exactly what as Fox needed to do, which was we had a couple weak movies in the past. How can we just go and hit the reset button? And they did that very well, in my opinion. They great actors again. I like seeing everybody who was on screen. I think Quicksilver, that scene was just amazing. How cool that scene was. The whole kitchen scene. I think that was my favorite part of the movie. Having Wolverine still be the glue, it's a very smart move in the whole deal. I didn't know, again, what the premise was for the movie, how they were going to explain everything. And I mean, for somebody that just comes in there and watches this as their first X-Men movie, I think they're going to be lost. Or at least they're not going to really appreciate all of the backstories that are kind of touched upon in this. And so it was a great movie. I liked it a lot. I mean, we'll go into more detail as we talk, but first reaction, it was great.
I would give it an A-. It was a solid entry. My favorite X-Men movie is still X2, but like Chris mentioned, it is in the top half. I really liked the characters. I liked that they were in peril the whole time. It wasn't guaranteed that they were going to make it out in time, especially with Magneto going all badass. I love the scene where he picks up the stadium and drops it in front of the White House, and he was so, I mean, whatever, like around it, like it was so badass. I loved it. I also like Quicksilver. That also stole the movie for me. I love the wit. I wish the Flash would come out like this. It was a solid movie. At the beginning, it was kind of rocky with like the professor and Magneto talking. It was like, oh, this movie's gonna be bad. I don't know what people saw in this movie, but then once all the details got ironed out, the movie got way better. So I would give it an A-. It was a solid movie.
I love this movie, and I agree with Edgar that the only problem I had with it was the Xavier telling the backstory at the beginning. I was like, oh my god, this is written terribly. But I understand why they had to do it, because, I mean, everything he told would have to be an entire movie itself, really. And it's unfortunate that they had to do that. But like, once Wolverine got into the 70s and it slowed down, I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. And it got better and better.
To me, it was interesting, the whole 70s deal. I mean, they went hardcore 70s. They said, all right, what did the 70s look like? Let's look at everything. Nixon, disco. Let's use everything.
I thought that was Jeffrey Tambor as Nixon when they first showed, like in the photo they had on the internet and the shot from the trailer. Mm-hmm. The first shot he's in the movie when he's looking up, I was like, oh my god, it's Jeffrey Tambor. But it turned out not to be.
You guys touched upon the Wolverine being the glue that tied everything together. In the comics, Kitty probably goes in the past. Here we see Kitty develop some crazy, ridiculous white glowing hand powers, send people to the past. It's ridiculous, over the top, or whatever. We'll just kind of gloss over it, which is for the best. I think if they try to explain how phasing mutated into this, it'd be worse. But then, like, the second that she sent Logan's consciousness into the past, which they did do a good job giving that a story reason, the fact that, it damages the brain and his mind can heal himself as he goes. Everything that they showed in the future after that was the weakest part of the movie. Like, they could have just dropped it. And, like, that first scene when we see all the characters die, and then, it's like, oh, they're actually alive because they went back in time.
Right.
And then we see them die again in this, again in the future. It's like, I know this means nothing. Like, I guess that's where they got their, like, big visual special effects treatment. But they did a good job with kind of creating a story reason. And then when Wolverine was in the past, it was kind of refreshing to see him not do anything. Like, I know he killed those guys when he first came back there, and he popped his claws a couple times, but he does nothing the entire movie. Like, he does have a couple dialogue scenes and helps that out. But, I mean, this is really, like, Magneto and Mystique doing kind of the action sequences in the
I actually felt this was more Xavier's movie than any other mutant.
I think it was a movie about Mystique.
Yeah.
I think that was her movie.
Xavier and Mystique's relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
But
which is kind of weird. But
something that I think for me, I missed out a bit, and maybe this is, you can always please everybody, so to speak. I don't think there were enough mutants in the majority of the movie. You're right. In the future, you have everybody fighting. But even what they do, it's the scene is like, all right, let's repeat the scene, but in a different setting. In the past, I was really hoping that that we would have more mutants, a larger battle. It seemed the Sentinels were a waste to me.
It also seemed like the public wasn't that aware of mutants back then. They were all more in hiding.
Right.
The way they were reacting to Mystique, like, oh my god.
To me, the Sentinels was the disappointment for me. Just I thought that was a waste.
Yeah, they were
in the 70s or
in the 70s, because I mean the ones in in the future. I guess I get it, but those weren't the Sentinels that I went to see this movie for. The purple or the magenta looking Sentinels. Those were it, and I think they were completely underused.
My thing about the Purple Sentinels, and I know it's a comic movie, so I shouldn't overthink it. But Magneto puts a bunch of metal in them. Then all of a sudden, he can control them completely.
Yeah.
It messes with their computer. AI turns it on, turns it off, and he has complete control. I mean, I know he can bend metal, but not anything that happens to have metal in it. He has complete capabilities over it. So
that was a little weird.
Magneto, the hacker.
Maybe he controlled what they looked at. He could control what they saw. Maybe. I don't know.
I love the scene when they showed exactly. They showed the interface of the from the eyes of the Sentinel, and it was very early on graphics. Mutant, human. That was interesting. But I agree.
And that matches the animated series, at least the way the Sentinels view them.
Yeah,
mutant. And I grew up on the animated series. I never read the comics, so.
Well, the animated series were pretty dead on to the comics. The majority of them.
If this were DC, it would be called X-Men, Days of Future Past, Battle for Mystique. Mystique was a huge part. I really liked Jennifer Lawrence in this movie. You could see that she was really torn between being Raven and being Mystique. I mean, she wanted to do stuff on her own. So it was a struggle. I felt the struggle.
To me, Mystique is a boring character. It's the least exciting mutant to watch. All she does is, all right, I change faces, and then the way I fight, I actually fight. Superpower, her superpower is to look like other people, but her fighting skills, it's just, to me, it's just, weak.
Well, her fighting skills are so ridiculous, and maybe the justification is she can change what she looks like. So, of course, she's amazingly super awesome at all martial arts and flips and stuff. But it just seems to have nothing really to do with her power base, and it's just there kind of to look cool.
Right.
And I like how she used Trask's thumb scanner. And I know she looks like people, and I was like, man, so when she transforms, she knows exactly what their fingerprints looks like.
Does she? I mean, she has to see the person in order to become them, right?
I guess, yeah. I mean, that's how it is. They never really explain
I actually wanted to ask Chris this. In order for Trask to create the perfect Sentinel, they took all of Mystique's DNA, right? But her DNA isn't to mimic powers. Her power is to mimic people's looks, not their powers, right? That's Rogue. I thought they had Rogue tucked away. I thought the Sentinels were based off of Rogue because Rogue is the one that absorbs
the way they
power.
explained it was this was the beginning.
Right.
So we don't really know if later on Rogue gets into the mix. This was just the beginning of how to make these mutating Sentinels.
Could say in X-Men 3 when they
Don't
gave
say
the
that.
shot to the mutants to take their power. Maybe they took some information at the time. And Rogue did take the shot too.
Speaking of that, Hank developed that cure back in the 70s. So why do we care about Leech being able to cure mutation? Hank had that on lockdown.
But apparently that was, it's a little different. It didn't get rid of it completely. It was temporary. So I guess they reworked it.
I don't know. The scenes themselves were fine, and it's just me being picky. I hated that because I felt like in First Class, you had this Mystique beast, struggling with their mutation and what they looked like, and they have the I'm proud and I'm a mutant, or mutant and proud, and they can have that cheesy line. But then, you come to this movie, and I guess the actor doesn't want to do blue makeup every day. So they're like, well, let's think of a story reason why he can just be himself half the time. And, he couldn't have done the corporate espionage and, like, breaking into the CIA if he was blue-faced. But I think it really kind of detracted from some of the character work they did. And, they turned him into the Hulk, basically. Like, I'm grumpy, so now I'm muted and jumping around, but I'm cool most of the time.
Yeah. Lose temper, that's how we transform.
I didn't mind that because of how they used it with Xavier. I thought that worked well.
Like he was a drug addict.
Yeah,
He had to snap out.
But he used it to hide from pain, so it's very comparable to a drug addict.
My favorite scene in my favorite scene in the entire movie was when Mystique jumps out of the talks in Paris, and then like all the cameras like show her, and like that was my favorite scene. Just how it would have been seen in the 70s. Like it was like seeing. I know this is a hoax, but seeing like Bigfoot walk. Like that grainy footage.
Yeah.
That's how it felt like to me. Like it was so cool. That was my best scene. Best scene in my opinion. And then Bryan Singer made an appearance. Did you guys see him?
No.
Like he's the one that hosts. In that scene where Mystique breaks out into the crowd, like Bryan Singer is holding like a little camera, like right here, and then you see like his
that
face.
would make perfect sense.
Yeah.
No way.
But that was cool. Yeah.
No Stan Lee in this movie again.
Yeah.
Stan Lee, yeah.
I almost thought Mystique transformed into him when she turned into the old man. I was like,
that's what I thought it was, and that's what I thought it was. But I just looked it up ahead of this, and it apparently, no cameo for him.
Bryan Singer loves his intro scenes. Like, I feel like they all have that same, focus in on something, watch a bunch of genetics and stuff bounce around, and then pan back out to Cerebro's eye.
I'm like,
you're stealing from yourself.
But, in this case, in Days of Future Past, it's kind of you're excited to see it's going back to X-Men 2. Like, since X-Men 2.
That's right.
They used the theme music from X-Men 2 as well.
John Ottman.
Yeah,
he's back.
It got me excited because the only superhero movies I've ever really cared about were X-Men, the first two X-Men. So this for me, like this was seriously emotional. Like I choked up and I never realized how much hatred I think I had bottled up for X-Men 3. The end when you see Jean Grey. I wanted to start clapping at that point. Yes. Oh my God. And I expected it, but it was still awesome to see.
And she was wearing complete red, and she had red hair, complete red hair. So she might not be Jean Grey. She might be Phoenix at that point.
There were no rumors of them being cast in the movie at all, ever.
I think she was Phoenix at that point, and good. That's the Jean Grey that we got to see.
I almost cried.
No joke. That's awesome, dude.
It was a great scene for fan service and a middle finger to Brett Ratner and saying, like, your movie doesn't matter. I can't believe you ruined the franchise. But, the whole point of this was, like, reboot, reset the universe.
Yeah.
But they already created, like, they reset the universe, but they also set this flagpole of what people can expect to see, whatever that future date happens to be. So, if they introduce Cyclops and Jean Grey and Storm and Colossus in the next movie, in theory, they should be untouchable. Or they're going to have to bring something up and say, like, oh, time travel ruined stuff, and Apocalypse's powers to make it not matter.
They bring back
to die, so we don't have to worry.
So you guys are saying the post credits sequence or scene is we're in the desert, we're in Egypt, ancient Egyptians time, and we see somebody is on top of a mountain, and there's, I guess, what you call them? I guess slaves. I guess in a way, chanting for this person, and then we see, skinny hands. To me, it looked like a grayish white skinny hand, and then this person is levitating giant blocks and making the pyramids. And then they pan to his face, it's blue face, and then on the you also see on the side 4 people on horses. So right off the bat, then I guess the only explanation is this is Apocalypse, a young Apocalypse, and I guess it clues into the next movie, which they already released it.
I don't know. I don't know much about Apocalypse. I don't really remember from the animated series, but I didn't think it was like a human mutant. I thought he was more a robot.
Apocalypse is from Egypt, but he is in theory considered to be the first mutant because he is really old. And like his power level is ridiculous and all over the place. It's definitely one of those mutations that's like he can do whatever he wants. Sometimes it just seems like he can manipulate his own body in reality and make himself like bigger, stronger, turn his hands into hammers and axes. But then, other times it feels like he can do, levitate other stuff and give other people power, and also seems to have like some science abilities to make mutants stronger. He turned Angel into Archangel, and that was his Horseman Death, and he's messed with other people's powers and abilities throughout the years. So he's definitely one of those like everything in the kitchen sink type mutants. But I agree with you. I was surprised he was running. I thought he was a girl at first.
So did I. I'm like, is this how they're going to explain it? That might be a girl actress. It was exciting. I'm glad they put something on there.
It's very ambitious. It's very ambitious for X-Men to go to Days of Future Past because fans know it, but it's nice that Fox pursued Days of Future Past because it's not easy to keep up with.
I think they did really successfully.
Exactly it. I mean, I think earlier on in one of our podcasts, we say our concern is they better explain this time traveling very well. And they did. I think it was they explained it well. It was very simple.
Wasn't as much bouncing around as I expected.
Right. It was very simple approach. This person has a superpower. As long as that person's, mind is being under control, everything goes well. So that was the whole deal.
Speaking of X2, how did you like when Wolverine saw Stryker and then Wolverine's memories came back to?
I liked that.
That was pretty cool.
I was like, oh shit.
And then X2 is also referenced towards the end where the Sentinel like gets out like the Lady Shiva claws. You remember that? Like the
Sentinel
off of like the big claws. You remember that? Like the
when in the future. This was in the future. Yes.
Future Sentinel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Future Sentinel,
okay. Has the claw.
Got the. That was so cool.
So Kitty sends Wolverine back, and he delivers the message, and then he just kind of hangs out, and they make it seem like it's a big deal that she keeps the connection. Like I kind of touched on earlier, like Wolverine does get the team together, he gets the band together, and then he gets Xavier out of his funk, which is a good way to do it. And I was glad to see Charles kind of overcome his struggle of drug use and that theme and falling and getting back up. But after that, he didn't really need to be needed. He was a delivery boy. He was a messenger. Like, he's not the one who changed the future.
I guess he needed to make sure that it happened, though.
Yeah.
He needed to make sure Trask survived.
And, man, when Eric ran those pipes through him, I was like, he's a cruel bastard.
Yeah.
Like, he did not need to do all that. He could have just wrapped it around him and tossed him.
I never expected him to rip him apart with it.
That was so
instead of
cool.
knocking him far away. I was like, oh, my God.
Even Wolverine without adamantium is still Magneto's bitch.
I love when he walked through the metal detector and was like, huh? I like that.
Does Wolverine in the future does he have adamantium claws now?
He never popped him out.
I think he does because he ended up on that boat with Stryker.
Yeah.
I think
But
that's
Stryker
the
was
whole
Mystique,
reason
dude.
they
Stryker.
That's what it was. They do show the eyes that Stryker is Mystique.
Maybe they're saying that it was Mystique the whole time.
No,
because
no way.
Mystique interacted with Stryker in X2, so I don't think it's that. But
Maybe that's a good point.
they changed everything, so who knows?
That's right. It maybe.
But Stryker didn't die; he survived, right?
Yeah.
He
but
runs.
Wolverine was taken by Mystique now.
Yeah.
So now,
well, maybe as Stryker, she could have still put the adamantium in.
But
I think we realize how much he
nicely,
needs that.
nicely put the adamantium
In this
in,
movie, we realize how much he needs it.
Listen, man, we're gonna sedate you real quick.
Yeah. I almost feel like he would volunteer at this point.
I'm weak, man.
I like how you said how much he needed it, because when he fought that Sentinel, I felt like he was so worth it. He goes to attack him, and he was like, it's not doing much.
Can't cut him.
Eyes are gonna break.
Yeah.
You guys really liked the Quicksilver scene, and this is my last big grief. I thought it was silly and campy and over the top, and almost everything that character did was ridiculous. Maybe him duct taping it, the guard was a little silly, and the holding Magneto's hand for Whiplash was good, and that was enough. But then when he puts on his headphones, hear the music, and he's just pantsing guys and giving them wedgies, and just
Did he? I didn't even notice the
wedgie.
He's being shenanigans.
Well, he's a genius. Exactly, that's the whole deal. I mean, he's the kid that goes in there.
That was my defense of his costume. If I were a teenager with a nickname Quicksilver, I probably would wear silver clothes.
He gives himself the nickname.
Well, he chose the nickname too. It fits.
One of the problems that I had on this is when he's playing in the arcade machine, he's playing Pong. Did you guys notice how
Yeah.
quick he was moving Pong? I'm like, I never played Pong that fast.
Well, I think he could have rigged the machine.
I guess. He's in there in the 8 bits, just speeding up the bits and sending the information.
Yeah, I really liked him. It stood out too much because he was only in the movie that one part, and you just shake his hand and send him on his way.
I was hoping more mutants would, I guess, beggars can't be choosers, and something that we keep criticizing about movies is you're bringing too many people in. This is one movie that maybe could have introduced a couple more new people. Go find, some more people to throw into this movie.
I think it did a good job with it because it had all the mutants in the future, and you got to see those cool visual effects of Sunfire and Blink and Bishop, and kind of all that. And then it had a smaller, tighter, focused group of characters in the past. I think that if they did have more mutants, it would have bogged it down. I think they did a really good job having a cast of 30 characters, but only showing them for like 5
They
seconds.
scaled it back, and I think a lot was edited out of this movie because we know Rogue was edited out, and she was in the future.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know how they took her out without.
So wait a second, why she was
I
edited
feel
out?
like they would have used her in the trailer. You see a shot of her in that future battle.
She had a speaking role, and they ended
Uh-huh.
up editing her out because it was too much future stuff. But she still ends up with Bobby.
I expected her to come in and save what's her face?
Kitty?
After she was stabbed. I was like, well, Rogue would be perfect for this.
Yeah.
Wolverine's right there. But I don't know, messing with Wolverine while he's
What's
in
Bishop's
another
power?
time.
He absorbs power.
Ah.
Like, so if you shoot him,
And he
then
shoots it through his
I
gun.
see.
and-
But the gun
Yeah.
was whatever.
I loved how
Yeah.
the Sentinels were unstoppable. Like, that was so cool. Like, all the X-Men did, all their powers.
That's
was
right, it got to
nothing.
a point that it was just done.
Yeah, it was so cool.
I disagree with Chris that the second battle people were dying out, but he thought it was inconsequential. But at that moment, it was like if they don't stop Trask, or if they don't stop Mystique from shooting Trask before the Sentinels break into that room, then it would have been consequential because Bishop was dead at that point, and they can't send him back anymore.
Yeah.
To erase it all. So, and I think, you say like we know they're not gonna, we know they're gonna make it, which like we know it's gonna have a happy ending. So, but still, like from a story point of view, that was.
Oh, man, that was
Something
so
you guys
cool.
mentioned
somewhat
is that
controversial.
Apocalypse is going to be in the 80s. I have a problem with that. Just
Because the 80s suck.
no, there's. I mean, they're going to be where it's going to be a pop culture film of the
Yeah,
80s.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be the same thing. We're going to have your favorite 80s presidents, soundtracks, hair, clothes,
Which is
cars.
weird, like, as a part of the viral promotion for this movie online, really early on, there's a photo of Reagan being sworn into office with a sentinel behind him.
Oh,
Which is
really?
really weird. So I wonder how they're going to tie that in.
Another earlier promotional was Magneto killing JFK
Yeah.
with a bending bullet. I loved the twist of him
Yeah.
saying that he was trying to save JFK.
Because he was one of them.
He was one of them. I thought that was really great. Fassbender pulled off the role. I feel like he is one of the strongest actors of that crew.
Oh, yeah.
I liked all the actors. Like,
Yeah, I don't think
I
there's
actually
a weak actor.
I actually
Dinklage was great
thought
as Trask.
Michael Fassbender wasn't that great in this movie. Like, I mean, he wasn't bad, but I hate First Class. But Michael Fassbender was the best thing in First Class. And this one, he seems a little less into it, really, for me.
I felt like Jennifer Lawrence wasn't into it, and maybe that's the role. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
her
something-
too.
Like she was just very much like reading her lines and doing what she had to do.
That's
He had that
absolutely-
gravitas. Like, Michael Fassbender brings that atmosphere.
Yeah,
of
no,
gravitas.
he's a great actor. But I think I could almost say James McAvoy would deserve an acting award for this movie.
Except it's
because he
X-Men.
was terrible in First Class.
He cries this
And-
entire
and
movie.
this
Days of
movie
Future Past,
was
he just
great.
cries the whole
He
movie.
was great.
James
He
McAvoy
didn't
kept
cry
crying.
at all. Trask's the only one that cried.
That's right, the
Stephen
one.
Trask. Like James McAvoy was whiny. I mean, the character, he whined, but like he was so good. Like the first scene he was in when he came down the steps of the mansion, I leaned over to who was sitting next to me and I was like, he's so much better in this movie. Like I watched X-Men First Class for the second time last
Recently?
night.
Okay, you did. Okay.
The day before I watched Days of Future Past, and it was worse than I remembered.
Yeah.
I thought it was a terrible movie. The dialogue is just so bad from
I
beginning to
haven't
end. The
watched
only
it.
part,
Did
the only
they-
character I like is Kevin Bacon's character, as far as like acting goes.
Did they have the X-Jet in First Class? I remember, right?
It was a secret project.
Maybe, yes.
They do. Because
So-
Beast flies it and they're like, you know how to fly that? He's like, yeah, I designed it.
And then what happens to it? Why are they flying a commercial jet? They're
Lost all students. He doesn't have any funding.
Yeah. Everything can't be weaponized. Like, it's cool that they
go on a rental. They get a rental car.
they get a rental plane.
Yeah, the car, that was a little strange.
First Class ties, Magneto listing off everybody who was with him at the end of First Class and how they died, and Mystique showing the when she's in Trask's office and showing them the autopsies was great. Because those characters were too much. Azrael was a ridiculous Red Devil character, and it was a nice way to acknowledge them. They still had a presence in this story without ever having to be there. I think they did that.
Yeah, but
perfectly.
Frost. I mean,
her power had a cameo. Like one of the Sentinels turned to diamond. Do you remember?
Well, true. But I feel like that she's a strong character in the universe of X-Men.
Emma Frost, yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
is.
so-
January Jones, no.
Yeah, she was bad.
So maybe that I was
First
a little
Class was
surprised.
rushed. It was like that was when Fox needed to keep the rights, and they're like, we need to get First Class up now.
Yeah.
And they rushed that movie.
I feel like this has a strong rewatch value, so I'll go watch it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to see it again, definitely.
See if I can catch any more Easter
This
eggs.
brings me back to X-Men 2. Like, I think
It's
Bryan
exciting.
Singer, Singer brings a different feel. Like, it's more of a movie than Wolverine and First Class were.
I mean, this is as far as superhero movies. This movie's getting reviews from serious, critics. Really good reviews from serious critics. So that's actually pretty exciting.
I think it's expectations. I think that this. It's funny as we talk about it more. My Steam port actually goes up, and I'm thinking about some of the bad dialogue in First Class, and I'm like, this might actually be better than First Class. X-Men still has a good place in my heart. I mean, this is definitely up there as far as it's concerned. But all the pre-footage, it looked terrible. It looked overweighted. The last movies have been bad.
The third trailer they released for that movie, I was like, I don't know.
I mean, the scene in Spider-Man. It's the whole Vietnam scene, and then I thought that was terrible.
I never watched that.
Out of context, that was terrible. But in the movie, it fits very well. It's a cool scene.
So when she goes in and saves those mutants.
And then we meet Stryker at that point. Yeah. So that was cool.
I actually didn't get that off of his dog tag. I didn't read fast enough.
Stryker Jr.
I was looking at the bottom. I was like, PDOT, what does that mean?
I like how Bryan Singer wrote an apology letter to his fans. He's like, I'm sorry I got greedy with Superman Returns. I should have made X3. This is Bryan Singer saying, I'm sorry, guys. Matt Vaughn's movie was okay. Brett Ratner's movie was terrible. James Mangold, I'm going to erase all these movies. Bryan Singer's like, I'm going to retcon the crap out of these
I didn't know
movies.
that he had publicly apologized.
No, he did publicly. This movie is his apology letter to us.
This is
I don't know. We're not the people we should be apologizing to.
There's an awesome quote from Bryan Singer I read years ago where someone asked him if he wished he had directed X-Men 3. And his response was, before watching it, while watching it, and after watching it.
I bet he says the same thing about Superman Returns. It's like, I wish I would have redirected this movie.
Apparently, what I read, Superman was always his favorite hero, and that's the reason.
Superman's everyone's favorite hero.
They're going to do it without him. He wanted to do it.
So, X-Men versus Apocalypse. You want Singer to return?
Yes,
absolutely.
Please.
Don't let anybody else touch it.
All the money he wants.
Yeah, don't let anybody else touch it. At this point,
there are people who could do it, but I would definitely love to see him do it.
Was Matt Vaughn once attached to this movie?
He was.
Matt Vaughn?
He was.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see Matt Vaughn's Days of Future Past. Because I like Matt Vaughn. I like Matt Vaughn movies. Days of Future Past is it's in the top tier of X-Men movies for me. I also like Kick-Ass, and I also liked the Daniel Craig movie. What's it called? Layer Cake. His first movie. I like Matt Vaughn. I would have liked to see his version.
But this guy does it very well.
Yeah, Bryan Singer's the master of X-Men.
Well. Yeah, don't let anybody else touch it.
I feel X-Men in general, the good X-Men movies, they feel more human to me
than any other Marvel movie.
Superhero movie.
Any other superhero, that's right. The way they accommodate it.
More of a struggle for survival rather than just beating the bad guy.
That's right. Their superpowers they can still take a bullet and die.
Yeah,
and that's what it is. That's so cool about it. I mean, yeah, Spider-Man can take a bullet and die, but how many times do we see him just dodge bullets and be faster than anything? The worst cops in the world always attack Spider-Man. New York's finest. You get the worst shooters.
All right.
Final. I guess so. Overall, liked it. I think we can definitely pick at some things. But overall,
I say like you can really pick at any movie, but if it's a good movie, you don't want to pick at it. Like you're not driven to pick at it.
So I think we started the 0 to 5 scale, or earlier on.
I don't know. I gave it an A-. Like I thought it was a solid movie.
Okay, A-. I agree. A-. This is
I give it an A.
A plain A.
I would give it a B.
A B.
But I think before this conversation, I would give it like a C+. So I'm
absolutely.
Sweet Chris.
I feel like there's some movies that after watching, or especially second, third, fourth watching, actually get worse. Or
Best movie of the summer so far?
Captain America. Captain America: Winter Soldier is the best movie.
If we're counting that as summer, definitely.
I'm not on that. Not on that boat.
I think X-Men is the best movie of the summer so far, and
Of the
it's
summer?
yes,
of
so
the
far.
year.
Of the year? No, man. Like Captain America is the. Well, I guess we can discuss this in another podcast.
I think we'll see. I mean, we did say our prediction,
X-Men too. Like I love the X-Men.
but I think as a whole, this
Yeah.
was the best
X-Men
movie
comic.
of the summer, and I think absolutely we're gonna see it reflected on the box office. Godzilla had a 90 million weekend. This it's probably just gonna be right after it. Plus, it has the whole Memorial Day.
I think I read just a few minutes ago the Friday estimates were just over 30 million.
This thing is going to be at 120 by the end of the weekend. Easy.
Because it's X-Men. Everyone wants to see X-Men.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a word of mouth.
And they made it very kid friendly. Again, how much blood did you
What
see?
part of this was kid friendly?
There's no blood.
There is blood when Magneto is in
his
it.
head's getting bashed.
Yeah, with his head. That's the
And
only.
the bullet through his neck.
But
besides
yeah,
the
opening
scene
scene.
in half, and
There was a lot of.
But it's
Iceman's
very-
getting melted off.
It's very superhero like.
Stepped on Iceman's head.
That's right. Very superhero, and I guess
It's
unwarranted.
less violent than Winter Soldier.
And to me, there was one scene that was completely, I was like, why did they put this? Freaking, I guess it was for the girls, putting Hugh Jackman's butt on the movie. What was that about?
I didn't even remember that.
Hugh Jackman worked out. He deserved that shot.
He deserved that shot.
It fit the situation. I mean,
And there was that
waking up
scene-
with a woman.
I was actually reading an interview with Hugh Jackman, and I guess he took his kids to the premiere of the movie, but he forgot to tell the kids, listen, I'm naked in the beginning of the movie. So they say the kids after the movie, they were like, Daddy, why didn't you tell me?
Well, when you beat up the thugs right after that shot, he's pumping his chest up and down.
I saw that. I saw
I
that.
didn't miss that.
He was like, "Are you guys sure? Left tip. If you want a right tip, do this."
I did see that. I'm like, man, this guy just was showing off.
When he first showed the bone claws, I asked Sakari, I'm like, what happened to adamantium? Like I had to be reminded that he doesn't have adamantium yet.
Just yet. That's
And
right.
he wasn't shot with the adamantium bullet. Then the and in the 80s. And Chris was mentioning that Apocalypse has like this Omega level like power, and then they got me back to X3 of how Jean Grey is
No
like
power
Omega
levels.
3 or something. Those midichlorians.
All right.
Well, we obviously like the movie, and we'd love to hear from you guys. Do you love it? Did you like it? Are you excited about X-Men Apocalypse? Email us at nerdexp@gmail.com. If you want to hear more from us or me, follow me on Twitter at ChrisTastaGuy. You can follow Guillermo in line.
That's
I'll
right.
let you in front of him.
On to the next Friday movie.
Even if you have one behind him and he has a full card, you are
That's
staying
right.
behind him. I hope this helped you guys with your nerd IQ. Level up, friends.